Hello YouTube. I'm here with another moon sign video in my moon sign series, and now I'm gonna be doing moon in Taurus. What's the key thing for you people who have moon in Taurus is that your moon is exalted in Taurus, so that's a good thing. That means that your moon is in the best sign for the moon to be in. But basically what this means, having moon in Taurus, it means that you're probably the moon sign with the least likelihood to have any sort of crazy emotional instability issues in emotional up and downs. What this means is that because you are a Taurus moon, you don't tend to have emotional issues or mental health problems like depression or anxiety or whatnot typically, because you tend to be able to deal with your emotions better than other people. But by this, I'm not suggesting that you don't have moments where you get super emotional about things and have mental breakdowns and things that really upset you. What I'm saying is that you aren't an emotional wreck, basically. And this is because with moon in Taurus, you tend to be very emotionally stable. With moon in Taurus, you tend to rationalize your emotions. It's not like you tend to be very rational about dealing with your emotions. It's not the same as rationalizing them. When I mean rational when it comes to dealing with them, it means you don't suppress them, but at the same time, you don't try to intellectualize them and whatnot. You try to deal with them in the way that's most appropriate, and when it comes to your emotions, you aren't very impulsive about them. You don't try to run away from your emotions or anything like that, unless you have an afflicted moon, which is basically a moon with a ton of hard aspects or in a difficult house like the 12th house or 8th house or something. But with moon in Taurus, you tend to be very emotionally stable. When it comes to dealing with your feelings, you tend to take a lot of time in dealing with them. And you tend to be very, very patient with your feelings. You're not the type of person that gets very emotionally wound up over your feelings. When you feel something, you let yourself feel it, you let yourself deal with it, it comes and you take your time to process it. And this is good because you don't want to force yourself to feel something or force yourself to not feel something or become numb to your emotions or whatnot, because these are very, very low vibration ways of dealing with your feelings. And so having the moon in Taurus basically means you're not an emotional fucking wreck. It means that you're very in control of your self, and you're not the type of person that's going to be very emotionally irrational. You're not going to feel things and just act completely stupid and do some moronic things that most people wouldn't normally do. Most people that have emotional problems would do. You're not going to be just like I said, completely out of control. I've only met one person with a Taurus moon that actually was so out of control that I wanted to actually flat out punch him in the face. And he was a Virgo sun with a Cancer rising. Regardless of he's the only one. Every single other Taurus moon that I've known and met is not like this. When you tend to come across Taurus moons, they tend to be very emotionally calm. They're not the type of person, when you're around Taurus moons, they have this sort of sensual vibe where they calm you down. But Taurus moons are usually very likable. There's very few exceptions in my case that aren't likable, and it's because they're not crazy emotional freaks that are gonna dump their emotional problems onto you. Most people, when they have emotional problems themselves, they either take it out on you or they act in ways that affect other people negatively because they're not dealing with emotional things in themselves. And I believe Taurus moons are the least likely to display this behavior because they tend to be very mature when it comes to dealing with their emotions, more so than most people. I'm not saying that there aren't immature Taurus moons out there, because I have met them. They are completely ridiculous and they drive me insane, and it's shocking how they're even a Taurus moon, for one thing. But in general, they tend to be very even keel. They tend to be very likable people. They tend to be very easy to get along with and whatnot. And most of the time, they tend to be very emotionally understanding of the way you're coming from too, unless they have other things, like I said, going on in their chart and whatnot. They're very easy to get along with. A lot of times, though, They can also be extremely stubborn, because Taurus is a fixed sign, and I believe that Taurus, out of all the fixed signs, is perhaps the most stubborn fixed sign, because while Leo can be stubborn about their pride and their ego, and Scorpio can be stubborn when it comes to their feelings in, like, the way of, like, morality, and, like, Aquarius can be stubborn when it comes to, like, their, like, ideas and their, like, way of thinking. Taurus, to me, is just stubborn to be stubborn. They don't like being told what to do, and they don't like being pushed around. I know a lot of Taurus moons, and this might be the case with more Taurus moon, but I've noticed that Taurus moon in general tends to be not as bad as Taurus sun, because a lot of times Taurus suns can be stubborn for the heck of it, because the sun has to do with your ego and your individuality, and so Tauruses will just be stubborn for the sake of it. Usually, if Taurus moons would tend to become very stubborn if they're pushed into doing things that they don't want to do. A Taurus moon does not like being rushed. A Taurus moon wants to take their time with things. Taurus is a bull. They only get really, like, fired up and, like, angry and, like, run into things when you push them beyond their limits, and it takes a lot for them to be pushed on beyond their limits like that, because Taurus moons are very, very patient. Taurus is a very, very patient sign in itself. Having a lot of Taurus in chart makes you a very patient person, and honestly, this is something a lot of people could learn from Taurus, especially Aries, because Aries is the exact opposite. They are very, very impatient. Taurus is very patient. They're willing to wait things out for better good of them. When it comes to dealing with their feelings, this is the best thing possible, because they're patient when it comes to dealing with their feelings. They let things go through. They let them smooth over. They don't, like, rush things. Don't try to, like, force themselves to do these, like, things when it comes to their emotions most of the time. Usually Taurus moon is this sign that I at least see trying to, like, use methods like drugs or alcohol, trying to numb their emotions and whatnot, like I said. And because it has to go back to deal with this sort of Taurus thing. But like I said, they're also stubborn, and they don't like being pushed. If you try to force them to do something when it comes to their emotions, and force them to make emotional decisions that they aren't ready to deal with yet, but they tend to become very stubborn, and they tend to become less likely to listen to you. And this can be frustrating sometimes, because sometimes a Taurus can just be outright stubborn just for the sake of being stubborn, and sometimes they can hold others up when you need to make a fast decision. Taurus is like, well, I need to, like, wait this out and have some time to think about it. And sometimes you just don't have that kind of time. You need to do something now. And sometimes they don't get that. But usually, because it has to deal with their emotional nature, it's not as problematic as other Taurus placements. Like, for example, Taurus sun, in my experience, the stubbornness of a Taurus sun is a lot more worse. Like, personally, it's a lot more negative of an influence to me than Taurus moon. Taurus moon tends to be more mature about it. But as with all Taurus moons, they have limits. And when they do blow up, they can be very, very bad and ugly, because usually Taurus moons can only deal with something so long before they're finally so fed up with it. And like the bull that represents Taurus, once you finally push them over the edge, they will, like, basically blow up and become a massive bulldozer that's going to come in and just run you over and completely annihilate you, because that's just how they are. They can be very, very ferocious once they're angry, and it's not a sight that you like to deal with. Don't take advantage of the fact that they're very patient people. That's not something that is going to end up good for either one of you. Taurus also doesn't like it when they're angry, because they want to feel like they're in stability. Taurus is a very stable sign. That's why Scorpio moon is in its fall, because Scorpio is very unstable. Scorpio wants to be stable, but is not stable because it's so constantly fluctuating all the time, and their intensity tending to go to extremes on things makes them have very, very, very biased and extreme emotional decisions. Moon in Taurus is not like that. They tend to be very, very mediocre. They tend to be very calm, and they tend to not be extremely biased when it comes to their emotional decisions, like I said. And so, when they do get pushed to these extreme emotions that they might experience, such as patience being pushed to the uttermost limit. They don't like it. They hate that. They hate that because they want to remain stable. Taurus is a very stable sign. They don't like it when they're unstable. It's similar to Libra, and I say this because both Libra and Taurus are ruled by Venus, and Libra is about staying in balance. But with Taurus, it's more about stability, and sometimes the stability can be achieved by the comfort of their home. They like to feel like they have a place where they feel secure in the comfort of their home. They like to have valuable items. They can be the type of people that use items for material security as a way to feel emotionally secure. And it's because Taurus is the opposite of Scorpio. Scorpio is like more looking on the emotional side of things, whereas like Taurus is the physical. And so, like I said, they can use material possessions as a form of security for them. They also, when it comes to like sexual matters, they're very physical, whereas Scorpio is very emotional, since both signs relating to sex. This is more about Mars, though. I'm not going to go much into that because the moon doesn't really have to do with sexual approaches unless you're talking about like the emotional attachment you have to another person. But relationship-wise, Taurus, because of their nature, can also get fixed and stuck in relationships that may not be the best for them because they don't like a constant change in their life. If they do decide to get into a relationship, they're going to want to stay in that relationship for as long as possible because they're not the type of people that can just like go into a relationship and then just come back out and like a month, like be together with someone for like a couple weeks and then leave. That's like an outrageous example, but like if a Taurus moon was to deal with that, it would probably drive them up a wall because they hate that. They want to stay, their life wants to stay stable. They want things to stay calm and in control. And going back to the fact that the moon is exalted in Taurus, this is a good thing because Taurus moons want to be very emotionally stable and in control. And keeping things as stable as they can keeps them emotionally healthy and doesn't lead them to have any sort of severe emotional problems that many other moon signs might have. And so this is, to basically summarize Moon in Taurus, Moon in Taurus is very calm and stable, and they let their emotions through. They're very patient when it comes to dealing with their feelings, but they also can be very out of control when their patience is pushed, and they don't like it when they feel extreme emotions that make them feel like they're not in control and not able to keep things nice and stable. And they tend to be very likable, it's very even keel when it comes to their feelings and all of that. And that's what makes a Taurus moon what it is, the exalted moon of the entire zodiac. And so that's Taurus moon. If you watched this video and you liked it, click the like button. Subscribe to my channel if you want to watch other zodiac astrology related videos. And I'll talk to you later. Thank you for watching.